During the 7th city tour, he said, well, you are such a direct person. My favorite tour is Buda Kazan. Kazan is about culture, tourism. All our heritage is a part of the urban life. Olesya, hello. Good afternoon. Thank you that you agreed to participate in our project. It's called 100% Tatarstan. I had an interview with the head of the President's office, and he told us how people get into the President's office, they need to comply with certain requirements and so on. And I know your story, but I would like to ask you, because probably some of our audience, they don't know about it. So tell us about your way. Well, my way was quite a long one, and there were many stages before I came up on the next level. I've been working in the president's team for 9 years already. I'm like the senior assistant now. Previously, I worked in tourism sector. We've been developing first touristic routes. We had certain traditions, 40 years traditions, in Kazan, in the tourist sector. But starting from 2000, a new line, a new period in history started with all those new technologies, internet, and so on. And that's why, and that's how it played its crucial role. We started showing those architectural and cultural sites in our city that were about to disappear when Kazan was transforming into something new. And there were many problems. We tried to keep that heritage. So we decided to invite Rustam Minihanoff and take him on a city tour. I invited him to see those problems that we had with historical buildings in Kazan. We had 7 city tours, and he went on with me and traveled all these 7 tours. And in the end, he told me, well, you're such a direct person. Don't you want to work with us so you could help us to solve these problems with the historical heritage? And I said, yeah, okay. And I made this choice. So 9 years after, don't you feel sorry that you made this decision and started being a part of this state work? Well, I think that I don't have to feel sorry. I never feel sorry about the past. That was quite logical. That was another level, and that's an opportunity to work with things that I love: tourism, historical heritage, development of the historical center of Kazan city. Did you work as a tourist guide while you've been working for the president? Well, I always try to work as a tourist guide when I can. And I do it from time to time now just for my friends, for some guests, for guests of my friends as well. I love walking tours. I don't really like bus city tours, but I like walking around the city and show around. My favorite city tour route is wooden Kazan. We helped people who live in those wooden houses, and this is really the city tour. We had this tour before, but then everybody forgot about this city tour, and we developed this city tour now as well in Butlerov Street, Kalinin Street, old part of Kazan. I love this city tour route a lot, and now we try to show to city guides and to our colleagues from our regions, the representatives of the communities, our achievements. Yes, I remember that Tatarstan Sloboda part, old part of Kazan, it was completely damaged in the past, and you were able to renovate it. Yes, that's right. We, in the past, we tried to analyze all those historic areas of our city, and we understood that in some areas there were a lot of new buildings, but in some areas there were a lot of empty spaces, and we had to develop the concept how to develop those areas, and that was so challenging. Unfortunately, we understand that we don't have to rebuild, reconstruct, renovate all the areas. In some areas, we can build modern sites, use modern architectural ideas. In some situations, we understand that it's possible to use modern materials, but at the same time, satisfy that historical image, not to repeat that mistakes that have been already made, like in Bauman Streets, when you see historical buildings and you see nearby, see those buildings that are completely different.
Well, we can't hold business. We have investors who are ready to do something, and they design this project. Yes, we were set the task to make a concept of the city center for the nearest 10-15 years, so that we understood what are the rules for our development, and we have gathered all the previously designed concepts on the new Tatar settlement and all the others. We unified them all, we divided them into zones, and architects were thinking over where the zone of history, which is the red zone, and where is the yellow zone with some new architecture, and the new domineering points can appear in the city center. And the municipality of Kazan realized the program through the auctions, and we have the scheme, very clear-cut scheme. Well, so to make it clear to everyone, well, so the municipal authorities and the budget doesn't have funds for that, especially in the cities, but business has. We need to attract investors. How? How do you attract investors? It is not only the president that should order everyone where to go and what to do. And that is the issue of the cultural side issue. Well, so I am an investor, for example, and you will tell me what brick I should use in the filing or in decoration, also how I should reconstruct or preserve it because I've bought it. Well, if you bought the monument, you preserve it and restore it according to the federal law. And if it is the media object or well, some environmental object, well, so it is the city making, city creating sites. We have only 431 of them, 100 fewer than the monuments, but there should be more of them, such sites. But Kazan got rid of the slums together with the historical environment. Nizhny Novgorod and Samara also learn our experience, and this experience is interesting to everyone, how to give the sites to investors. Kazan presented the sites, the architectural monuments that turned into non-dwelling fund, and then the PAC was formed for the auctions together with the ground territories. After the first trades, they divided the price twice, decreased the price, and after all, the 30 most valuable sites were given to investors. From 2011 till 2015, the whole mass was spread among the investors, like Furtsova House, Druzhinina House, the modern monument at Kosmodemyanskaya Street. These sites were really demanded and interesting. Investors are not happy with the manual regime, manual mode, and they need the guarantees of their investments. And if they need some guarantees. If they, for example, face some problems with the statesmen or officials, and what legislation norms do you develop to invest in inventors? Yes, we claim that we work with investors on the monuments, and we have some preferences, but the legislation is very strict and not very amiable towards investors. And we see this all the specialists of Federal Ministry of Culture understand that our law is very young. It was adopted on the 2002, and a lot of amendments were made on the compensation of investment costs and expenses, but this doesn't work since it appeared in the law. It is not applied, and investors who purchase the monuments can't implement any changes, and that is why our Tatarstan decision was to promote together and we unify into the working groups, and it is the manual mode of management. And if we have then some networks, we have to solve the problem with those who are the heads of these networks. Are there people investors who want to come here to open the buildings? Kazan and Samara are very attractive from the point of investments. On the one hand, it is nice that people come and are interested where the empty houses, the houses they are disdwelt, for example, and they are all interested. And due to this factor, we have still less and less historical environment. And when investors purchase the historical houses, they try to change everything. On the one hand, they reconstruct, but on the other hand, they do not preserve and change a lot. But well, so we get back to the issue of the rules and regulations, how it is possible to regulate. Olesya, when you came as an aide, you understood that your function, your super task is preserving historical center, to have the tours, to attract guests. And what are the objectives you set now? And how do you think when your functions will be implemented, and when will you develop their norms and regulations? I think quite a lot has already been done, and there is no pain. We lived some 5 years ago. Now we can be quite sure about the future, and our heritage is still alive, and it is included into the economy of the city, and there are maybe some 2 quarters. It is the district of Rahmatulin Street and Musa Jalil Street. It is very complicated. We work with Akbar's development and another 26 sites from the Aide group of companies. No, there are only 2 or 3 sites have been committed, and others are put on purchasing. And these are the monuments and sites in the very city of Kazan, and tourists and citizens worry that there are no lights in the windows of the houses. It is Karl Marx Street, Большая Krasная, Musa Jalil Street. These are the places where the houses are accumulated. Just remember Lobachevsky Street house. It is the frozen site, and I do worry about these sites. And why did I agree to take this position? It is Mikhlaev's house, the oldest site of the city's architecture, citizens' architecture. It is 17th, 18th century. It is the oldest one, and its relative is Sumbike Tower, which is in the same of the same status. Well, of course, we've done a lot, but the process is still on. And then we introduce the concept as the third idea, and within this year we are going to implement it. Well, on the fourth side, on the fourth hand, there is Admiralty Sloboda, Admiral Sloboda, or settlement, within 5 minutes from Kremlin, and we've developed the program of its development. There is a nice, beautiful concept, but to implement the building with all the sites according to the concept planning, we need the engineering infrastructure, and we've taken the decision, made a decision to lay the foundation for the future generation. We built the pump station in the old mouth of the Kazanka River with the repairment of sewage waters. We have implemented eco-rehabilitation of the old mouth of the river that involved a lot of investments, serious investments, and now when this work is in process and when all the work is implemented, this building will become real, and it will take some 10-15 years to see the concepts implemented. Let us talk about the large projects in the cities of Republic. How do you perform the work in other cities? Do you have any similar groups in Yelabuga, maybe in Chistopol? There are 13 historical settlements in Tatarstan, and we survey all of them. And we have a committee for all these historical settlements ordered by Mr. President Minihyanov. And this committee works in these sites, including Bulgar and Svigarsk and Kazan. These are committees of federal level. We also visit these sites. We also had excursions together with the President of the Republic of Tatarstan, but again we are talking about investments. We've done a lot. It is Shishkin's museum, which is under restoration and preservation at the moment. The Yelabuga mansions and Spasskaya church, a long-awaited repairment process has been launched. You've organized the work on the site. If it is in the program, it is saved. But what are another painful sites that need to be saved? I worry about Chistopol. The situation there is like 20 years ago in Kazan. The houses are not needed, and people are moved from them. They are disdwelled, and international programs have entered them. In Chistopol, the Bank for Reconstruction gives funds, allocates the funds, but these programs include only monuments and sites, including the museum structure on the first line.
But the tourists are normally interested in all the environment, the main street, the river, and actually these small houses, they are in some kind, those rural buildings are really beautiful, nice, and they are the 19th century buildings. So we had to react to the situation. In December, we were able to get certain finances. The ministry helped us a lot. They attracted volunteers, and at the federal level we got a lot of support, and we all went to Chistopol in order to conserve this heritage of Chistopol. Do you know what's happening when the families from old buildings are resettled? So what is happening after? Homeless people are coming. Well, no, it's not the biggest problem if homeless people come there. The worst thing is that people start to get all the materials, construction materials like brick, metal constructions, and sell them. And that was a terrible situation. Okay, a series of short questions. Short questions, short answer. What will change in Tatarstan in 10 years? I'm not going to tell you for the whole Tatarstan, but in Kazan in 10 years, I think, I'm dreaming about that all the improvements will touch all the sites, all the monuments, and I hope that the accessible environment will be a developed concept as well. And unfortunately, there are so many hedges in the city, and this is terrible. And unfortunately, we have too many hedges nowadays in Kazan, and I want to see Kazan without those hedges. It should be an open success environment and accessible environment for the disabled people as well. Well, this is a series of short questions and answers. What is your PowerPoint in Tatarstan? Well, I love Kamske Ustye and the Yurievska cave as well. That's my PowerPoint. Yes, I love this place a lot too. Okay, what is Tatarstan special and powerful of? I guess that we are powerful because we can react and solve all the problems. We are able to meet all the challenges and step by step find solution for each problem. That's wonderful. What does Tatarstan lack? I guess that Tatarstan lacks confidence in those specialists who were born and lived all their life in Tatarstan here in Kazan. I guess that's the lack of trust. So we trust our local specialists, right? Yes, but actually we should trust them. There are people whom we can trust. If you had to leave Tatarstan, what would you take with you? Well, I would take my family. Yeah, but if you and your family had to leave to remember about Tatarstan, am I going to live like forever? Yeah, yeah. Imagine that. Just imagine the situation. Well, I guess that probably that will be the map of Kazan. What can we learn from young people? Well, I think that we can learn from them that there are no limitations. We shouldn't be limited. This new generation, they see the world in a different way. They understand that they don't have any limits. If you want to get the sun, just take it. If you want to get a moon, take it too. That's how this new generation sees the reality, and we are different. But haven't you been, were not you like this in childhood? No, in Soviet times it was completely different. We were limited. And what about your kids? Do they plan to live in Tatarstan here? Well, I think yes, at least for now. If you had not one but several lives, where would you spend them? I would definitely spend one life in St. Petersburg for sure. This is a sacred place for me, a special place for me. I studied there and I love this city a lot. Not Moscow, but St. Petersburg, right? Well, yes, Moscow, I don't know. I don't like Moscow that much. And what is your recommendation for young people? Learn. You have to learn to master your skills and competencies, not to be afraid to work with your hands. That will be useful anyway. Yeah, so learn. What would be your first order if you became the president of Tatarstan? Well, I don't have an answer. Well, I don't know, to finance all the renovation projects. I would create a committee responsible for cultural issues, and I would control and regulate its activity by myself. So there must be like a direct and open access between the representatives of this sector and the president. Yes, exactly, that's what I mean. Thank you so much. I wish you to spend the next 9 years in this interesting and important way, and good luck. Thank you.